Rewind to summer 2019. The year prior, I had completed the trip of my dreams, cycling across Canada. I was a pirate, living in a boat, with lots of fun stuff to do. And I always seemed to be around people and a lot of chatter.
What's up? Alright, whatever, you know? It's all about the adventure.
But something still didn't sit right with my adventurous self. I still had yet to find out who I truly was. I had heard that to truly find yourself, you have to lose yourself first. So, as an experiment, I decided to try this literally and actually get lost in Europe. I got the new Great Cycle Challenge jersey and sent it out of there with about as minimal training as my other rides. Packing my bike only hours before my flight and promptly passing out on the $144 red-eye flight to Paris. The excitement doesn't wait to start.
So here's something I don't tell you about bike touring. Basically, I'm going to fill up my tire this morning after landing, and the back tire valve, just the inner tube valve, just it's now 6:30, and I landed at noon. Let's go to Amsterdam.
I was like a kid in a sandpit for the first time. Or in other words, it was my first time over the pond. I was alone, on a bike, starting a grand adventure. And in my opinion, there's no feeling that can replicate the same one as this. This city really seemed circular. I looked on my maps on my cell phone for the last time as I flung out of the orbit of the City of Lights. At this point, it was blind cycling, and I wanted to take on the challenge of trying to make it to Amsterdam without the use of maps. I remained energetic well into the cooler evenings, as I hadn't gotten the time to get adjusted to the time change yet. So sometimes, I cycled into the night. The best memory of which I have being able to smell the bakeries baking fresh loaves of bread for the early morning customers. But I still didn't have any day-to-day itinerary, and aimed my front tire northward when intersections came, using the sun as a reference. I slept in farmers' fields, they let me fill my water bottles, I bought local pastries from small bakeries. It was a Frenchman's dream, and sooner than I thought, I had cycled into Belgium. I followed signs to the first main city I would hit in Belgium, Mons. My bike had enough metal in it to set off the metal detector for these car barriers. These random kids had a blast.
Alright, so I'm really not too sure if that's where you're supposed to keep the bike, but I had to hop on this 4:19 a.m. train to Brussels because I got so lost. Guess I made it. Anyway, because I got so lost in France, northern France, in a forest and like off-trail stuff. Like, I got so lost that it took off all these days that I could make it to Amsterdam. It's not like I was hating myself either. Like, I was going through these small villages, figuring out where I am. It's kind of like a game.
I was meeting a friend in Amsterdam the next day, so I had to take a train the rest of the way as I saluted Belgium, riding on the rails towards the Netherlands. Landing in the mecca of cycling, for a couple days I toured the ever-ending labyrinth of canals and pristine bike paths in the outskirts of Amsterdam.
Alright, I'm in Northern Holland right now, and it's just a beautiful day. Biking, getting those kilometers in. A lot of bikers here. Hey. And yeah, kind of like countryside. Very nice, very nice. This is what cycling through a small village along this canal looks like. Doesn't get more Netherlands than this, boys. We'll bike in the middle of a field. Yoo! This whole town is all connected by canals, and they just get around with sailboats and such. So cool. Look at this long boat, houseboat.
then, in pure intrepid form, I headed to the airport to catch a flight to one of the northernmost airports in the world, Buda, as they pronounce it, to cycle one of Norway's most beautiful archipelagos, Lofoten.
Alright, so I'm here. I made it in Norway. Whoa. Whoa.
And there I was, the furthest away from home I'd ever been.
Oh man, this is gonna be dope. So what 11 p.m. in Norway will give you.
He's gone away into the forest to find out who he really is, because it's very difficult to find that out while you're with other people. And the reason is that other people are busy all the time telling you who you are, in many, many ways, by the laws they impose on you, by the behavior ruts they set on you, by the things they tell you, by the fact that they always call you by your name, and by the fact that when you live among people you have to be in a state of ceaseless chatter. But if you want to find out who you are before your father and mother conceived you,
Oh dear, some big
who you really are, you almost have to go off by yourself.
If it's a dream, don't wake me up.
What I did realize throughout my personal growth with getting lost and traveling solo in some of the most beautiful places in the world was that I was an expert at being happy with being alone and discovering who I was. But the more lost I got while finding out who I really was, the more I realized that I could set up an ideal lifestyle to get anything I wanted, but if I wouldn't be living for a greater purpose, there would always be an emptiness inside. So I said tusen takk, which means 1,000 thanks in Norwegian, and hopped on a plane back to North America. And that's where, on the flight back and in the following year, I really began to look more seriously to God for answers that I've been looking for, and to really start to question the motives behind my search. I definitely don't recommend it. But for me, it took being the most lost I've ever been to realize how empty a lifetime of living for oneself could really be.